everybody, welcome to Off the Rack. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
I'm joined today by Matt and Kara from Comixology. They're going to be talking with us today about The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl by Ryan North and Erica Henderson. This is a really fun episode. We're actually at the offices of Comixology.com. So if you love comics and you like the guided view or you like saving space on your comics, like I do, then check it out.
We do a weekly recommendation podcast where we kind of pitch each other books that we read.
Oh,
cool.
Generally newer books. So we try our best there.
Whatever came out that week that we thought was really exciting, and it works because Matt's like the typical comics reading guy in his 30s who's just got so much love for the X-Men.
25.
I grew up reading like Sailor Moon and Archie comics and stuff like that, so I skew more towards like, let me tell you about the glory of giant days, as opposed to so much with the kids.
Gem and the holograms.
Yeah.
But that's good variety, though. That's awesome. I love that.
Exactly. So it's only fitting that we should talk about a big two book, but with kind of an indie feel, and that's The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, at least the first volume, which you can pick up at your local comic book store, in bookstores, and of course on Comixology.com.
Boom.
In cinematic guided view.
Right. The guided view is straight up awesome.
That
because if you're like
ruins this.
me and you read ahead because you can't help yourself, like you just automatically go, right to the next panel.
Yep.
You're like, oh, what was so exciting? There it is. That won't let you do it. And it makes, I don't know, it gives more of an impact a lot of the times to the books. Like you guys are really helping out with a lot of the dramatic moments, a lot of the surprise moments. Like you bring an extra element to books, and I love that.
So for the actual comic discussion of today's episode, we're going to be kind of reviewing / discussing the 2015 Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, the pre-all new, all different, although there isn't really that too much different. What we like to do on our channel, at least, is when we have special guest hosts, we let them kind of pick the subject, and when you guys tossed out Squirrel Girl, I'm like, fine, let's do it. Okay, Squirrel Girl it is. What drew you to Squirrel Girl, and why are we talking about it today?
It's a good question. Well, we talked before, and we put together like a list of big two books that were more outside the box, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? How do we put that list together?
I picked Unbeatable Squirrel Girl because Matt asked me what we should read, and I was like, Unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
Right.
Like, obviously, because it's just one of the funniest books out there right now. Every time I read it, I laugh. Like, actual laugh out loud, not the LOL, like, typing with someone thing.
I breathed hard through my nose today.
Yeah, it's just so much fun. I'm still pretty new to the Marvel Universe, and it's a good intro for me because one of the fun elements that they have in this series is, so Squirrel Girl has a pack of trading cards, Deadpool's Guide to Supervillains, and so you get like Deadpool annotations of all the villains that you meet, and it's perfect because they're funny, they're pithy, and I know everything that I need to know right away. I had never seen Kraven the Hunter before. Kraven the Hunter shows up in the first issue, and from that card I'm like, okay, I've got your
get
I
it.
know.
Yeah, he is a little esoteric, but you don't have any context for him.
No, really, it's an amazing gateway book.
Yeah.
It really is, because she has the opportunity to touch all different aspects of the Marvel Universe without being tethered to a team necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, she can hang out with the Avengers, or like you said, Kraven the Hunter, or deal with Galactus. Like, it's totally fine because she's Squirrel Girl, and
and she's also a legacy character. She's been around since I think the 70s, if not earlier than that.
Yeah, there was a backup issue that showed, I think, her first appearance, which
Yeah.
was a hilarious mixture of, funny content now versus her original appearance, which was like, whoa, this is so crazy.
Yeah. I was not expecting that to be part of this trade, but I liked it because they had referenced it in, I think, the first or second issue, where she's like going to raid Stark Industries to get some Iron Man gear to fly to the moon. Because, of course, why wouldn't you
work there?
And so then they had that. It was nice that they had that backup issue, and I loved that backup issue, especially because Squirrel Girl was talking just like she would in the current issue, but Iron Man was still in the whole like, citizens, I will save you.
Exactly.
And he was like so annoyed that the squirrels like literally were a part of her gig. Like that was part of it. Like he was surrounded by squirrels, and then the villain in that issue, we're skipping like to the very end, but her first appearance
or is it the beginning?
Right? Her first appearance was her and Iron Man fighting Dr. Doom.
Yes.
And the squirrels saved the day.
That's
and they
right.
nearly killed Dr. Doom, which is insane.
That panel is an infamous image of Dr. Doom swatting away hundreds of squirrels. Ryan North has some experience writing webcomics, and he's also an entrepreneur. He developed Project Wonderful and Dinosaur Comics, and that was kind of the big glaring thing for me when I first picked up Squirrel Girl. We actually reviewed it over a year ago, I guess, on the show, and I was like, this feels like a webcomic. Like, this feels like it should be on like Marvel.com or on some Marvel-related website, and it's an interesting interpretation of that genre because it really feels like just a long-form webcomic in both art and writing. But the humor is really what got me. Like, it feels like the kind of snappy, clever, contemporary humor that you would find in contemporary webcomics today, but in a Marvel comic book, in a mainstream book, which you don't normally see. You know, like, for years everyone said that Spider-Man was the funniest Marvel character, which is like, I guess, like, he's the one who makes the jokes, but is he legitimately funny? And like, the more contemporary writers who are from different avenues of comics that come into the comic book industry actually inject like legitimate humor, like when Brian Posehn was writing Deadpool, and you're like, a comedian writing Deadpool, that makes sense to me. Like, Ryan North kind of lends his work to this title in a really, like, I can't imagine anybody else writing this book.
Right.
Yeah, the combination of Ryan North and Erica, I feel like Henderson is the perfect combination for this character.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, like, I had, like, way back when, this kind of a book was something that I had thought that Marvel should just, like, put on Tumblr and, like, try to get an audience that you don't usually get.
That's
like,
exactly
this feels
right.
like something they should put up as, like, a webcomic, exactly like you said.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, or not surprisingly, it worked just as a regular mainstream book, and digital, people were able to gravitate towards this book because it was so funny and so unlike what people maybe perceive as monthly comic books.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I think is neat is that, like you said earlier, that this is great for new readers, but a lot of the notes that they hit, I think, are great for long-time readers of Marvel. It's like, oh my god, they made a reference to something that I remember from back in the day, or older issues, or whatever. I mean, I know that she's part of the All New, All Different now, but the fact is, when this book came out before All New, All Different, she was already leading the charge in that. Because what I remember from Squirrel Girl is back in the New Avengers days, and like the whole Skrull thing, and like...
And when she was like the babysitter.
Yeah, and she was like a lot more mild-mannered, and there she was, but like, so... It was almost like Marvel was already doing All New, All Different with this book.
Yeah.
You know,
They're
and
testing the
I
waters.
feel like she really opened the door for books like Howard the Duck and Patsy Walker Hellcat, you know,
Yes.
like
Absolutely.
like it's really Marvel legitimately trying something different, being like, how do we bring in a younger audience while still not alienating our current audience? Well, that's how you do it.
Yeah, it's a more organic way to actually reach an audience that they keep saying they want to reach. You know, we want to get new readers, we want to get young readers, and we want to get like a different, wider demographic. Here's a book that actually reflects the demographics they're trying to reach, and that's kind of like promising, I guess, for mainstream comic editorial, I guess.
And how rewarding, too, is it, like you mentioned, she was the babysitter of the Avengers Mansion, but how crazy is it, what kind of amazing storytelling you can get when you put in a different team with the same character?
Yeah.
You can get the magic of this first volume, which was so rewarding for me.
Every supporting character is fantastic. Like, they have their own legitimate personality. They all have their own issues. They all really work well together. There's nobody who's really an outlier. There's nobody who's just like, and they threw that in for X reason. You know what I mean? No, it all completely works, like you said, really organically. I came in kind of hesitant with this book because I wasn't sure what we were getting into. I remembered Squirrel Girl from back in the day.
Right.
And I came into this and I was like, oh, no, I like this Squirrel Girl. I like her a lot. Like,
Well, because the first issue, she's saying, okay, I'm moving out of the Avengers attic.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a story there somewhere that I'm missing, but, and she's going off to college to learn programming. She's taking her squirrel pet friend Tippy Toe with her, like right off the bat. I know.
Tippy Toe is a legacy character too. She's not for
And like right off the bat, you meet her new roommate, Nancy Whitehead.
Yes.
Greatest name ever.
right?
And she just walks in and Nancy's like, you're not allowed to make fun of my posters and you have to love my cat. And so like right off the bat, you know everything you need to know about Nancy Whitehead.
That's right.
Exactly.
And it's phenomenal.
And I felt a really deep connection to that, having cats myself. I was like, no, that's right. Yeah, no, you have to agree with her.
Another character, quote unquote, of this book is Ryan North's writing.
Yes.
I think his writing is so surprisingly strong as like the first kind of mainstream stuff, the first big mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
But adding in the little bit parts with the cards, adding in the visual gags, which Erica, took over.
Yeah.
But then also
The liner notes.
The liner
little
notes at the bottom of the
bottom.
page, which I don't think has happened since maybe Matt Fraction did Secret Warriors or New Defenders or Defenders.
Oh yeah.
But for those that haven't read it, liner notes are at the very bottom of the page. So you don't get those in guided view. I think it would be a little too distracting. But if you read it in full page view, Ryan North writes like a little narrator gag at the bottom of every page.
Yep.
And this goes on for the whole series. And I just can't believe that he was able to pick that up and make them all funny.
No, it's so good, and that's how I found out the origin of Mew, the cat's name. It's short for Mjolnir, the hammer that Cat Thor wields in Nancy Whitehead's fanfiction about Cat Thor.
That design for that hammer is spectacular. I was like, if they made that, I would be like first online, be like, you can have my money.
It's funny also because there are elements in the story or this comic that are so legitimately funny, but they're also legitimate character moments. And like Nancy has a character arc throughout this book, and it is directly connected with her Thor cat fanfiction.
I think we can all relate
I think
to
that
that.
culminates to my favorite moment in the series, which is just, I don't want to give it too much away, but if we are, then
Do it.
it's Loki becoming her
character made real.
to jab at his brother, which is just it's within character for Loki, it's within character for the series, and it's also just a treat for everyone to look at.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I love the Galactus confrontation from the first trade, which I just think of that shot where Galactus is like chilling on the moon and Squirrel Girl's on his shoulder and they're looking at the Earth and he's like, this was great, but I'm going to go eat the Earth now. She's like, wait a minute.
I love that.
I think one of my other the second trade might have been the one where Nancy was locked in the Statue of Liberty arm, and they were waiting to be saved.
My God.
Like, who do you think's going to save us?
Yeah. So
I hope it's Iron Man.
They were telling the stories about no one really believed Squirrel Girl was real, so they're like, oh, I have a story about Squirrel Girl, so they regaled the group with the story.
I love that whole scene in the Statue of Liberty as well, because like, way to take the Marvel Universe, like the average Joe, and make them what they might actually be like. Yeah, like if we lived in a world of superheroes, we'd all be like, "Oh, I heard this story," or like, "Who do you think's gonna like?" That's exactly what we would be like. I mean,
naturally, we'll be
especially
rescued
if you're in New York.
Yeah.
All of them are in
They're all
New
here,
York.
right? Like, I mean, if you look at now how people, go to Comic-Cons and like just in a world where like these are just characters, but take that same personality and put it into a world where like they actually exist. That is precisely what would happen, and I thought that was genius. You very rarely see that. Like typically in the more dramatic, heavier comics that Marvel puts out, like everyone's either really excited, thankful, or really upset about what the superheroes are doing. But to make them like just fans and like to be like, oh well, I have the better story that like my cousin's hairdresser told me. Like we're good, like I like that.
Yeah, it makes it real while also making it fun.
Erica has such a knack for conveying character emotion.
Oh, yeah.
In just the simplest way. When Nancy walked upon her when they were talking to Chipmunk Hunk, and Squirrel Girl didn't realize who was under the mask, even though he was just wearing like a regular comic. So Nancy refers to Squirrel Girl as her real first name, and her reaction to that is just like her eyes like go like beady. She's like, "Are you serious? You just called me?" And she's so talented at that. I think that's such a hard thing to do, and even in comic books today, with her style, it's amazing.
Yeah, she's not afraid to portray a character in an unattractive manner. Like we're not all like doing the perfect emotion at the perfect time, with perfect hair and makeup. You know what I mean? Like her characters are making real expressions, like the real things you do from day to day, where someone's like, why are you making that face? Like, I love it. And like, of course, it's overly animated, it's a little exaggerated, but I love that. And I think it's a perfect blend with this type of story and this type of writing. So it's so good.
I like how this comic is all ages, but it doesn't talk down to the readers.
Yes.
Like, if you read in the letters pages, there's a lot of fans of this book who are kids, and so they like dress up as Squirrel Girl, and they have pictures of them like reading the comics, but like their parents are reading it too, and obviously we are all reading it, and it's just it has such a broad appeal because like it's funny, like you were saying earlier, it does pull on actual Marvel Universe canon that longtime fans will appreciate. It's easily accessible for new fans like me, and it just kind of works for everyone.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I guess.
I think we're saying
sold it already.
This book is for everyone. The end.
Yes, that's pretty much it. And what's nice is you can pick it up now because it has a current run, but then you can also just go back and read this trade. It's 8 issues.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think we know where we can find it.
Oh, that's right. You could go to comixology.com and check it out.
You can. It's super easy. You can go on our website and find it. And as soon as you're finished these 2 trades, you can go into the next series and get Howard the Duck, because I think those are the books that really lend themselves well to this kind of mini universe
Yes.
of characters.
Yes, absolutely.
Patsy Walker.
Patsy Walker, yeah, that's coming up there. Like it's building an audience.
Hellcat is great.
Yeah, it really is. And like I think that the three of them should just
form a team.
Yeah, just do something animal themed. I don't know.
Remember She-Hulk? Remember that?
Yes.
With Soul? That could have been like the precursor to a lot of
Yeah.
these
I
books.
think so.
I mean,
Yes.
Dan Slott's run on She-Hulk was also very similar, and it was meta, and it used its own kind of used continuity as a joke, but also as a reference point, and
Plus using different art styles.
Bingo, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, even back in during the John Byrne era of She-Hulk, she was breaking the fourth wall and making a lot of inside references, and well, the fight will be over in 2 pages. No one was talking about it. Yeah, I'm glad to see that has kind of permeated into other characters that really lend itself to that style of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So there we go, everybody. That was our Squirrel Girl themed episode of Off the Rack. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank my special guest hosts for joining us.
Anytime.
And if you haven't already, you should check out their podcast. I'm going to put a link in the description box below this video for you to go check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll be on there sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. More crossovers. Also put a link in the description box below this video for the first volume for Squirrel Girl for you to go pick up if you are so inclined. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
I'm waiting for the day when they do a comic where it's just people who own local shops talking to one another about how much insurance forms they've had to fill out for collateral damage.
Yeah, that has to be. It has to be a paper nightmare. Well, you moved into the city. Here is your giant stack of papers.
Yeah.
That's round 1. Round 2 will be coming after you.
This is what happens if the Hulk smashes through your window.
Yeah.
This is what happens if Iron Man falls through your roof.